What is going on, everyone? My name is Tim. This is the Tierfon Orbital YouTube channel, where we talk about nothing but lightsaber-related installs and lightsabers. But also lightsabers that are related to installs of different calibers, installs. Really, that's all I have going for me on this channel. I say it time and time again. One of these days, maybe I'll switch up the format and we'll talk about something else. But for today, we are talking about a hilt. We're talking about an install. This is the Solo Sabers Tierfon Orbital 13. I made a mistake in my post for this hilt by calling it the Solo Tierfon 1. But this is actually the Solo Tierfon 13. This hilt is a little banger. Look at this guy. I love the profile on this hilt. This hilt was machined and made by my buddy Jeremy over at Solo Sabers. He did all of this in-house, right? So all of this is custom routing and machining, except for the grip. So the grip is something that I had designed and made and machined, right? But other than that, this whole hilt was done by Jeremy in-house. He also laser etched the shroud on this hilt. The design of this etch, I believe, was done by the master etcher Carl over at Vaults of Valhalla, but Jeremy laser etched this shroud in-house, right? So love this hilt. It's awesome. It's got a great profile. It's got a great size. And I'm forgetting to mention the switches were done by my buddy Rob over at Soroc Sabers, right? Soroc lightsabers. So anyhow, I do want to come into Fusion and talk about the chassis for this install, right? And then we will come up top and talk a little bit about the hilt, and then we will do a demo and be on our way, right? So with all of the jokes and sarcasm out of the way, let's run on over into Fusion. All right, thanks for tagging along into Fusion. Here it is, chassis for the Solo Sabers Tierfon Orbital 13, okay? We're gonna start at the bottom. I chose to go with a fully enclosed 22 millimeter Nano Elite speaker. I cannot speak highly enough about these speakers, right? So I get these from my buddy Albert over at Smuggler's Outpost, excuse me. To me, the 22 millimeter sounds comparable, if not better, than a 24 millimeter speaker. That's just my opinion, right? And that's probably due to the fact that you can almost always fully enclose a 22 millimeter speaker. With this particular grip, the internal diameter of this grip is just under 27 millimeters. But with that being said, I chose to just fully enclose that 22 and get the full performance out of the speaker itself, right? I love these 22s. I prefer using them over 24s, honestly. Right, so we've got a 22 millimeter speaker down here. On each side of this chassis are greeblies. So I've done greebly work on both sides. The whole chassis was printed in matte black PLA. All right. Nothing too crazy on the side of the battery. However, up here, just on the side of the board, I do have two rectangular LEDs just for some extra accent. And on the other side of that, there is our kill switch. Now, I chose to go with a tilted Proffie board setup for this install because of the room. So this is where our Proffie board resides. There's plenty of room to get at your SD card as well as your USB port if need be. The board is tucked up just underneath the threads, right? No cap or anything to this chassis. This kind of butts up against the internal piece of the midsection of the hilt, right? So it's just kind of wide open. And that, my friends, is that. Nice, simple, static chassis. Let's come up top. All right, so here it is, the Solo Sabers Tierfon Orbital 13. This was our first, Jeremy and I's first foray into working on a hilt together. Actually, Jeremy should probably take all the credit for this hilt because he did most of the work on it, right? But yeah, I always love doing projects with friends. So Jeremy and I kind of tag team this just a little bit, right? But again, Jeremy did the majority of the work. All of this routing and milling and work on the lathe was done in-house by him. So the pommel is all brass. This emitter is absolutely gorgeous. I love everything about this emitter. The milling is awesome. There is knurling inside of here as well. I think this is just a super, super classy looking emitter. Really, I think this is probably my favorite part of the whole hilt. It gives it a nice balance as well, having that brass up front like that. But I really, really love this hilt. The shroud was also laser etched by Jeremy, and the pattern was done by Carl over at Vaults of Valhalla, right? The only thing that I had to do with this hilt really was the grip, right? And these grips, I just designed these grips, and they've been machined, and I'm happy with that too, right? That's probably why I'm getting speeder bike vibes from this hilt. I do get like a Koran horn speeder bike vibe, probably just because of this grip. But the form factor of this is great. I love the size. I love the profile. It's just a very, very good looking hilt, right? So the chassis, to get at your chassis, you just want to unthread that grip. Here is the chassis, okay? I did this in matte black PLA and then went over it with an application of rub and buff. I use black and pewter rub and buff, like almost like a 75-25 mixture of that to give it that gunmetal pewter look, okay? There are those two rectangular LEDs, battery trays here, and there is that Proffie board. It's just tucked up just underneath the threads here, okay? This install will take a protected button top 18650 battery, right? So the flat part of that battery is your negative. You want to put that down towards the speaker. Hit your kill switch. There are those two rectangular LEDs lit, all right? Lit PCB emitter from KR Sabers. All right. This switch housing was done by Rob over at Soroc Sabers, right? And that looks great on this hilt as well. So once you get your battery in, put that grip in place. Like the threading is perfect. Jeremy threaded all of these parts. It's just such a great, great hilt. The customer requested this to be weathered, right? So I did weather this hilt. It's a combination of brass black and aluminum black. I decided to go heavy with the aluminum black in the grip and then sealed it, right? So that gives it almost a two-tone look, okay? Yeah, this is a great hilt. Just the form factor, I think, for me. Why am I hitting the pommel? Right? So that's it. That is the Solo Sabers Tierfon Orbital 13. Let's come down to the bottom. I'm all out of sorts today. Anyway, there it is. The Solo Sabers Tierfon Orbital 13. Look, the profile on this hilt is just so gnarly. It looks so good. Great hilt. Great sounding hilt. That 22mm speaker, to my ears, sounds exactly like a 24, but you can fully enclose it. It will perform better. It sounds great. Okay. Let's put a blade in it. Okay, so 7/8 inch blade. Another reason why this is a great hilt, well, why I like it so much. I prefer a 7/8 inch blade. So for this blade retention, right, there are two large machine panhead screws around front here. One of these is a little bit long. I will probably end up grinding this down a little bit just to keep the profile of the hilt looking a little bit better. That way you don't have a screw that's backed all the way out. I'm probably going to end up grinding that down and like rethreading it. But that will serve as your blade retention, okay? So you want to put your blade, rest your blade on those PCB pins. And then I'm going to tighten this set screw, or this panhead screw here. And you are ready to go. I love this. This grip feels great. I actually prefer a thin grip. To me, it feels better in hand, right? This thing is nice, man. Okay. See what else you put on here. Oops.
If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will.
Hello, Master.
So if you're looking at these switches,
Like my father before
the switch on the right, there are small brass hat tactile switches in here. The switch on your right, if you're looking at them, is your aux. The one on the left is your main, okay? Man, this sounds good. God. This has been also set up with color wheel on the config. So to access color wheel, you want to hold down aux and tap main.
red, dark orange.
Once you find a color you like, tap main again, and it will lock that color in place. Okay. See what else we put on here.
Hello, Master.
It's a great hilt. I'm trying to get clash here. There we go. All right, one more.
That lightsaber was Luke's.
Okay. That shroud does look good on here too. Let's get a better focused. Hopefully it's coming out in the dark here. Great hilt. All right. So that is it. That is the Solo Sabers Tierfon Orbital 13. Lucky number 13 from Solo Sabers and Tierfon Orbital. Again, I feel weird taking credit for this hilt. I really am not, because Jeremy did most of the work on this. The install is mine. I'll take that. But it's a great looking hilt. This thing is really, really nice. With that shroud, sets it off too. So anyhow, to the customer. Why, that was weird. Why did I do that? To the customer, thank you very much for trusting me with this install. Thank you for coming to Jeremy and myself for this hilt. I believe Jeremy may do more of these if requested. I might be putting words in his mouth, but he might do more of these. I'm not sure. Should probably check with him. Anyway, this was done by Jeremy in-house, so I'm sure if people are interested, he might think about doing more. So anyway, that's all I've got. To the customer, thank you very much for trusting us with your hilt. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for trusting me with your install and for your patience. If anyone has any questions about this hilt, you can probably reach out to Jeremy or myself about the install. And with that being said, that's all I've got. May the force be with you always. Thanks for watching, everybody.